This week's scenario is two fronts from the Steamroller 2015 tournament pack. It consists of the Killbox scenario. There are two rectangular zones. You can dominate the friendly zone for 1 control point. You can control the enemy zone for 1 control point and dominate the enemy zone for 2 control points. And you can destroy the enemy objective for 1 control point. 5 control points or assassination of the enemy warcaster wins.
Hey everyone, this is JD, and today I'll be playing Captain Damiano and General Osram. My Osram list is a double Colossal list that abuses the threat ranges that Osram can bring to the table to create a very strong and efficient shooting game. The Damiano list leverages a number of Damiano's buffs to skew defense, clogging up zones, and creating different vectors to pressure my opponent's caster and challenge scenario. My wonderful opponent Gaston, however, thwarts a lot of the plans to play the Osram list. The two Colossals into Durst means that they're really going to be playing a melee game, which is not Osram's strong suit, and Sackpawn on Vindictus takes my shooting game off the table. After taking a look at the terrain, I opted to go with Damiano. The plan was hopefully to weather either caster's feats and attrition from there, and hopefully create a vector where I can pressure the casters out of the zone so I can win on scenario or take them off the table.
Hello everybody, this is Gaston, and I am back to playing Protectorate. Why, you may ask? Because we got this brand new guy, Anson Durst. When I was going to do my list pairings, I ended up putting him with Vice Scrutator Vindictus. The reason for this is because I didn't know what I was going to do, and Malorian told me to. So anything that happens with Vindictus is entirely Malorian's fault, and you should blame him. For this particular list, I opted to do Vindictus because he had a lot of infantry, and I wasn't terribly confident with Durst into particularly mercenary infantry, where you have that option of having that high defense. And then with Vindictus, I like Missionaries of War, so that's the theme force I went with. I went ahead, I do have ADR, a 4th Reckoner, so that way if I go up against like a double Colossal list, I'll be able to have the 4 heavies on the table now. And then I did go ahead and take my Reclaimer and slip it in here in place of the Errant Seneschal, using ADR because there wasn't really a lot of force for them to ignore.
Before getting into how I deployed, I do want to start off this video by extending a very sincere apology to all of our viewers out there watching this battle report. I had accidentally moved Ayana and Hult off of my tray and deployed them. They do not belong in this list in its current pairing and should not have been deployed. I do end up catching this mistake on turn 3, and I'll go into more detail then. Luckily, not only was my opponent a fantastic sport about this, and very graciously had a good laugh with me while declining my concession, but also Ayana and Hult made absolutely zero impact on this game when the mistake was discovered, making the resolution of the game state fairly simple. My deployment is also fairly standard. Looking at the terrain, I wanted to commit 2 heavies to 1 zone to secure it, and run the Nyss wide, jamming with my Kayazys. In hindsight though, I probably should have mirrored my deployment as my objective was a lot weaker, and his armory objective with his model count was almost unremovable.
So deployment with this army is pretty straightforward because just about everything in the army advance deploys. It is quite fantastic, I love it. One of the things you do want to keep in mind here is how you're going to have your first turn go, particularly when you're deploying. So when you put your advanced deploy stuff in front, you want to make sure there's like a gap for Vindictus to cast all the spells and move, because he usually has to activate pretty early in the turn. You want to make sure you have room for the choir to kind of maneuver around your army and do their thing as well. So without the advanced deploy, it's pretty straightforward. Now with advanced deploy, we generally tend to do a very symmetrical deployment. So you have your Errants on both sides, and then you have your 3 jacks in the middle. What I wanted to do here particularly was be able to control my zone and put a lot of pressure onto his zone very early. The nice thing is I have Pathfinder on turn 1 for my jacks and all the models in my army, so I'm not afraid of that force. I believe I actually won the roll-off for this game and elected to take this side, specifically to take that force away from the Nyss, so that way they can be hiding behind it and using Hunter to just shoot through it. It'd be very annoying that way. So now we're just putting the Errants out here, and then we're going to make some last-minute adjustments at the end with the Errant deployment to, again, make sure that Vindictus has somewhere to go when he wants to move forward on turn 1. Otherwise, we're just interweaving the units a lot.
Alright, Merc's turn 1. I'm looking at this deployment and I'm trying to execute on my plan here, which is to really kind of force his zealots to be in the middle of the board on the approach and to deal with one of my units. I start with Surefoot and Death March on the usual suspects here. Surefoot on Snapjaw, who then Bloodthirst charges for free, staying within 3 inches of Damiano to provide him some coverage on the early game. And Death March on the Kayazy Assassins. Going with this plan, Death March on the Kayazy Assassins means that I want them to be the first units to be potentially killed by the Zealots on the other side. I know that he has 2 units of Adine Knights, Knight Errants. I'm trying to dance out of their threat, and spoiler alert, I do mess up a little bit. I get 2 of the Devil Shadows Mutineers killed. But here you see I have the Kayazy Assassins running up the board. The Nyss were deployed in the same way as the Kayazy Assassins. They were deployed in the same position, sort of intermixed between them. But now I'm going to kind of unfoil my plan here and bring the Nyss up around the side here as a flank. My hope is that he will pop his feet on turn 1 and force an engagement, and I'll go ahead and jam him up with the Kayazys, kind of keeping them in both zones. Take the bottom zone with my 2 heavies, and on the top zone, flank around with the Nyss.
Turn 1 with Vindictus is fairly predictable. He's going to go ahead, Hierophant's going to Harmonious Exaltation on him, he's going to put Defender's Ward on the Errants, True Path on himself, and then kill whomever he really pleases with Saclam, in this case the Flag Banner, in order to allocate to the Reckoners. And he's going to walk on up. The big trick here that I was trying to decide what to do with was whether or not to pop feet. And what I really prefer doing is getting the Alpha Strike, using my speed to get my guys in there, to hit them pretty quickly, hit them pretty hard, pop feet to protect them, then get a second Alpha Strike, and then have the Zealots come in there, pop their feet to get even a 3rd strike. And that's the ideal way of doing it. But his army is just so fast. I mean, he has the Nyss there, he has the Kayazy there. He's got Death March up to, speed him up even more if you go ahead and trigger Vengeance. That I really went ahead, it seemed wiser to just turn 1 feet. So that's what I went ahead and did, threw my marker down. Now, I got the Errants advancing here, and this is my first game ever against the Devil Shadow Mutineers. So I'm not really sure what they do, so I'm just trying to kill them. Because, I don't know what they do. I don't want them to do whatever it is onto me. So they are around Surefoot, but I have less crossbows, so not a problem. And then I have like a bunch of shots, so we're just going to keep shooting at them until a couple of them die. So I thought I was being clever and killing the ones with the guns, and it turns out that I wasn't. I guess the chick has the gun, and then the dude has a gun, and then the other chick just has a sword, and I just don't know what I'm doing. So, but that's one of them down, one out of the way. So now, because we got the feet going on, we're being very aggressive with the other unit of Errants. They're nice and protected from the Nyss, from the Kayazy. So they're just pretty much running on up, forming a nice little screen. And then they're going to make a pocket for that Reckoner to kind of inch into, so that way he's in the zone, he's threatening the flag for next turn to start scoring. Quarry's going to move on up, they're going to chant no shooting, because we don't like being shot at. Reckoner's going up, he's trying to find some line of sight there, just barely squeaks through it, and puts a boosted shot into Pirate Chick number 2. And manages to kill her. Otherwise, now the Zealots are running up. They're going to go ahead and chant Spell Ward. No spells. And so since I did have to pop my feet early, we're going to be relying on those Zealot bombs to basically clean off whatever's jamming the Errants. So the Zealots come up, they're going to grade their destiny, they're going to clean off whatever's in front of the Errants, and the Errants are going to charge in even deeper, is the hope and the goal. So the Black Reckoner just ran, and then the other Reckoner, I believe, walks on up and pops a shot. And some math later, we decide that he does hit. Math sucks, it's terrible. Then the Reclaimer's just going to run on up. Collect some souls just in case.
Alright, Merc's turn 2. As you may have saw during my opponent's turn, I ended up asking for his card while he was moving a lot of his models and killing my Devil Shadows Mutineers because I had mispositioned them. To go ahead and read his feat again. This was the first time I had played Vindictus, and before the match I was focused on his spell card a lot more than his feat. And a cursory glance at his feat, I certainly did misread it. I had thought that I needed to be in his control area to take the damage for damaging any of his models. This presents a very big problem since I don't need to be in his control area to take that point of damage. My plan had originally been to continue flanking the Nyss and then shoot some of those Errants and make him start rolling some dice here. Start making self-sacks to keep his Errants in position. Now I'm realizing that if I hurt any of his models, not only is he going to be able to self-sack and keep himself in position, but also that I would be losing single wound infantry one after the other for every point of damage that I did. I end up not allocating any focus, just full camping because I feel like that's what I'm going to need to do against potentially 2 Reckoner shots, and just moving my army. I still kind of go with my plan A, part 1, which is to flank the Nyss. They have Hunter, so Vindictus hiding in that forest really isn't going to do much, so they can hug that upper zone pretty closely and still be effective. I end up running the Kayazys. They do have parry, so I can, squeeze through some models here and get them into a nice position to really jam up a lot of his Errants, making these drifts potentially bad from the Zealots that I know that are coming. Tough is up on the Kayazy. Really, there's no point to skew def here especially against some fearless models and Errants and all. I'm kind of getting the Nyss's activations out of the way here, trying to not eat up my clock, continue to jam while I still think about what I'm trying to do with these 2 heavies here. The big debate that I do have in my head is whether or not I feat. Looking in hindsight with this game, feeding would have been the optimal choice. The dilemma that I had created for myself was whether or not I was able to take out 2 heavies without my feat. I know that hitting even with Mat 6 on Snapjaw being pretty mediocre isn't going to be hard against Menoth heavies. The problem that I'm going to have is if I'm going to have enough punching power to take both those boxes out, especially since I anticipate a lot of my efforts and activations before activating those 2 heavies is going to be clearing Errants out of the way with self-sack, which means that they probably won't get jammed up. I'll probably have limited number of attacks after trampling and buying attacks and stuff like that. So after slowly going through this, I'm trying to think about whether or not I should feat defensively here and save the Errants. A little bit of math on that feat. I'm fully aware the Zealots are going to come up and bomb most of my Kayazy. Zealots with Fervor means those AoEs are drifting at power 8, which means I will be making tough checks on a damage roll of 4 or higher. Pretty bad odds. Had I feated, I would have been making damage rolls, tough checks, on damage rolls of 7 or higher, which means I'll probably be making 5 or 6 tough checks on average dice, and of those, 33% of them should live. This was a very dangerous gamble, and I decide that I was not going to feat. And I kind of move Eiryss up a little bit more and ship the turn over to my opponent.
So coming into this turn, this is like the most peaceful game ever. Like, we're in turn 2 and barely anything has died at all. So it's time to change that. So originally I was talking, the previous turn the plan is for the Zealots to come up and to clean off that. Now there's some practice going on here where I'm rusty, where I didn't place the Errants very well. So I blocked a lot of my own Zealot lanes. One of the nice things you can do with Vindictus is you can use Saclam in order to remove a problem model without having to waste attacks and do all those different things on it. So that way, now I have a path for myself to get through. So we're spending a little bit of time here thinking about which model I need to get, order of activations. But Vindictus very much wants to go first. He's going to put True Path back up for the Pathfinder. He's going to use Saclam to allocate out some focus. Went ahead and filled up the Reckoner on the top there, so that way he can go in on the objective, maybe kill a couple of Nyss as well. Now we're just moving the Reclaimer up. He's there just in case with the Kayazy and Vindictus. The idea will be hopefully someone will feed him a soul, and then the Kayazy won't be able to get anywhere near because of Soulstorm. It just kind of keeps me safe from assassination, particularly because I don't believe Damiano has popped feet yet. So we have one Reckoner come through, Quar move up, the Champ Battle. One Reckoner puts a boosted melee attack into the Kayazy in front of the Defender's Warded Errants, cleans that off. Then this Reckoner up here, he's just walking on in there, just needling around some guys. He's going to start beating on the objective there. And he'll kill that. Then he'll buy an attack against another Kayazy, boost to hit, and wipe that guy out. We'll say my opponent did not have fantastic luck with tough rolls on these guys this round. But this is where you can start to see that the matchup, I feel like, is very favorable to me because of my ability to start getting around his defense. Particularly, you're going to see here in a moment with the Zealot bombs. So that one Reckoner, he took a free strike. Again, he's boosting to hit, trying to kill himself with Kayazy. Again, clear out some gaps, move some room, so that way things can move in between, start interweaving my models. The other nice thing is that the Zealots, even with Fervor, the blast damage on the Defender's Warded Errants, the Black Errants, is like their armor 18. So you're looking at dice off 10 there, we're going to dice off 8 on the other Errants. So the odds of them damaging my own models are very low compared to the odds of me damaging his models, which are very high defense but very low armor. They're all armor 11. So it's very easy for me. So basically the Zealots are going to come up, they're going to pop Greater Destiny, they're going to chant Fervor, and they're going to hand him these bombs. They're going to play hot potato. They're like, here, take this little Fervor bomb. I don't need to worry about hitting you. So that's the Monolith Bearer, making sure everyone's in command. It's a very important thing. Now again, there was some poor planning on my part there over on the bottom of the screen, where I have a bunch of Zealots who aren't going to really be able to contribute a lot. This turn, they're just going to kind of hang back there. And then I am keeping a couple near Vindictus, just on Greater Destiny. I don't want them to get shot, just in case something happens, you never know. And then the Zealots are just bombing away. So one took out a couple Nyss, another one missed and scattered, and I'm trying to figure that out right now. So, got himself a couple of Kayazy, freed up that Errant. Then we're just, I'm using focus to mark them as they shoot, so that way no one's double shooting. And he got himself a Nyss. That one was weirdly in range. And actually hit. So we're trying for some line of sight here. Basically, I'm letting my opponent make the call because it's kind of close. So Snake Eyes definitely misses. But it knocked down a Kayazy. I believe that one was actually me shooting my own objective in order to damage his Kayazy. As you can see, the Zealots are really wreaking some serious havoc with his front lines. And what I'm going to try to do here is basically form, kind of like a caterpillar, where my back lines come up and then my front lines go forward. Now we're activating the Errants. They're charging in there. Their main goal is just to kind of jam him up and to really mess with Snapjaw there. Particularly when you have self-sack going on. And they're also trying to finish out a couple Kayazy, they're trying to run. And then we're also looking to protect my Reckoner. I don't want him getting charged by heavy. The downside is that Surefoot is up there, my swords are not blessed, my crossbows are. So even swinging it on the little alligator guy, the bull snapper, is probably not going to be doing much. But they do manage to go kind of bananas on the last of the Devil Shadow Mutineers. So very happily, we will never have to worry about what the heck those are. And then the Underboss made his tough roll, the other one is auto-hitting, and then checking quick work range to the Underboss within 5 inches, within line of sight, shooting him, killing him. Now we've got the other unit Errants going, and they're going to basically try to repeat the same success I had against the Kayazy on the Nyss. And my ultimate goal would be to clear that zone, but I also want to create a buffer around that White Reckoner, just like I did on the Reckoner on the bottom, where these Weapon Master Nyss can't, come in under Damiano's feet, where they're plus strength, and just wreck my Jack. I really would like to avoid that. So that's where some of these guys are running in there, and they're just trying to foul up charge lanes, engage models, force them to spend attacks. Also trying to make the most out of quick work. The odds of it hitting are not super great, but one of the quick works does connect, so that's good.
Alright, so the bad gets worse here for Mercenaries on turn 3. As predicted, he did a lot of damage to my Kayazy. To be precise about it, he killed all but one, toughing in the middle there, and for the rest of the game, I've pretty much discounted him. He's not going to be doing much. Maybe killing one model a turn. So we're not going to upkeep Death March. Kind of pointless there. The other thing that his Zealots did, they did a lot of heavy lifting this game, was also clear up that upper flank. Because he cleared up that upper flank and allowed his Errants to charge, my Nyss have now effectively been taken out of the game as well. I can no longer pressure Vindictus with my Nyss, and now that Reckoner is very well entrenched into that zone, and he has a bunch of models into that zone now, I'm going to have a hard time dominating or controlling, I can't control my own zone, dominating that zone at all. And I fully expect Vindictus to kind of shimmy his way up there next turn and start really putting the scenario pressure on me. I'm coming into this turn really concerned about this bottom flank here. I want to take that Reckoner off the board, and then I kind of want to abandon it. And I want to do that soon. Hopefully this turn, but I'm willing to wait another one. I think, I really have to play this patiently. I know there's a lot of scenario pressure coming into me, and I know there's a lot of models that I need to kill, and I just need to trudge through it. I am aiming to hopefully be able to clear a path there. But it seems pretty unlikely with the number of self-sacks that he has getting there. Putting a little more pressure on that objective is not a bad idea either, but that would require things to go really, really, really well for me. And that's probably not going to happen. This is the feat turn, so I am kind of immune, which is why I think I, have given myself kind of like 2 turns to kind of get that bottom zone into a decent enough position where I can just start moving Damiano and Rocinante and maybe even Snapjaw toward the middle of the board and start, seeing how greedy Vindictus wants to be. I am really playing this game with the knowledge that I am on the back foot now. And you'll see me activate a lot of different models to try to clear this. Rockbottom is trying to clear models, so is Sylys charging in, Bull Snapper, and Wrong Eye. I do want to take this time now, though, to address one of the things that I brought up during the deployment section of this video, which was Iona and Holtz. Up until this point in the game, and on this turn, you'll see me activate them, and that is where I end up catching that mistake, which was that I had been playing 4 points up this entire time. This is a terrible thing to do. And I say it with a grain of salt that my opponent was generous. I would have been completely okay had my opponent taken my concession. This is very sloppy and is illegal. It is cheating. You are playing 4 points up. You have an unfair advantage. We ended up resolving this. We had a good laugh about it and talked about our mutual experiences with people either accidentally deploying models or accidentally not deploying certain models in a tournament setting. But all in all, we had a good laugh about it. He was totally cool with it and said that, you had caught this mistake for yourself. You told me they didn't really have an effect on the game. They didn't kill anything. Let's just resolve the game state. And I said, okay, so I'm just going to take these off the board if you're okay with it. And he responded as well with, satisfactory. Like, yes, please, just take them off, and it's not a big deal. That's kind of the best outcome you can hope for if you did actually unintentionally cheat during a tournament. It should not be expected, though. If you do catch yourself in this kind of position, friends at home, please, please, please just announce it to your opponent. You're going to have to take it by the chin, whatever punishment you get with a judge getting called over, or potentially, a game loss or a DQ, whatever it may be. It is better than cheating, because cheating is a big no-no. You should never, ever, ever cheat. And this was very sloppy, and again, I have to apologize for it. But if you and your opponent can resolve the game state, that's fine. The implications here are pretty wide, because even though my opponent was nice enough to say that they had no bearing on the game, and they truly didn't, they very easily could have. Not only could they have killed a bunch of models and been very important for me at the end of the game, but also they could have switched up how my opponent moved his models, played for scenario or assassination. I recognize that the Errants have magic immunity, but in slightly different lists, this would have been a very big problem. So again, folks at home, I'm sorry, and please, please, please check your models before you plop them down on the table. I end up not doing much here, and finally shipping my turn over to my opponent.
Alright, so it was Damiano's feat turn, which was a little bit scary with his 2 heavies there. But Self-Sacrifice and Defender's Ward was able to really make a mess of his order of activations. It jammed him up, and it was very good for me. Very good for me. So now with that feat expired, we're going to start trying to make him play the scenario game. So what I'd like to do is particularly clear out that top section there. I think there's an Orin Midwinter and a Nyss in there, and then we're good to go. And park Vindictus up there, and start dominating that, and really start putting a lot of pressure. I'm not too terribly worried about the bottom zone, because one, I've got like the Reckoner there, I've got a bunch of infantry in there, but also because I took the objective where you can like sack off your infantry, whatever the one that is, and so I have a lot of guys there that my objective can just keep staying alive. So what we are doing is, again, we're trying to use the Zealots to hand off some bombs, and now we are getting into some command range issues where those 3-4 guys on the bottom, it's not so good there. So they're just kind of doing this old-fashioned way without Pathfinder, just walking a normal distance. But those guys at the bottom are basically just going to end up being there to keep the objective alive, should he decide to go for it. So, bombing some Nyss. And killing my own guy. Bombing a Kayazy. The last of the Kayazy. So, I'm getting rid of them, but I'm being pretty good at killing my own dudes here now. I'm getting a little hot there. Midwinter is definitely being a pain in the butt, so we're going to try to kill that guy off. I think we do a couple points of damage to him, but it doesn't officially kill him. So, the one area there that I marked is actually sacrificing his movement to aim. And then we've got a couple of Errants going onto the Nyss. One of the Errants moving out of the way just in case that Reckoner needs to come on up, help him out. The one who aimed went ahead, he killed Midwinter. He's now using the aim to shoot at, I don't know, whoever, Carvolo. I think he either missed or bounced off armor. And then the other Errants are all bouncing off the defense of the Nyss. So now there is only one Nyss in the zone. So what we're trying to do here is be kind of clever. Get Vindictus up there into the zone to give that Jack some focus using Sacklam. So the car moving up, they're going to go ahead, they're going to chant battle. And then Vindictus is going to go, he's going to put Defender's Ward on himself with the Hierophant. And then he's going to go ahead and he's going to charge that Choir Boy, he's going to Sacklam him, he's going to assign out some focus. But the idea there is now he'll be in the zone with Defender's Ward on him, he will be very safe, hopefully. Because that makes him, what, he's 15-16 base, that makes him 17-18, and then he's camping, I think he ends up camping too. So now that Reckoner is moving on up, he's going to boost a hit, and whiff. So that Nyss is sadly going to be staying in the zone there, and I will not get my domination points. It is very sad for me. So down on the bottom side, we've got some very interesting opportunities here. Particularly with Wrong Eye, who has not submerged. So we're kind of, we're looking around, we're going to go ahead, we're going to start shooting him. Boosting the hit, lighting him on fire. And then a boosted damage roll will not be really impressing anybody on the feat turn, but we'll see what else we can do here. I do have a second Reckoner after all. He's just going to walk his 2.5 through the woods, draw some line of sight. Boost a hit, and boost some damage, and bag himself a Gator Purse. And the nice thing is attacking Wrong Eye removes Snapjaw for me, so I don't have to even deal with that heavy, and all his boxes and Spiny Growth is now out of the game, so that kind of makes me feel a little bit safer with my Warjacks. Now we're taking the Errants, they're just advancing around, again to kind of clog up that zone, keep things safe, and then start taking random crossbow shots at Carvolo. Which I think they'll end up doing some damage to him, but I don't believe they actually kill him. I think he's left alive on like 1 health. But that's my turn.
Alright, Merc's turn 4. This is what I believe you would call the definition of bad. I'm in a bad position. I have lost this bottom flank. Wrong Eye and Snapjaw got taken off the table. Unfortunately, Wrong Eye, with camping nothing even under Damiano's feat turn and Surefoot up, was unable to dodge getting killed. I guess. And that ended up taking Snapjaw off the table, and now I have a Wild Bull Snapper. And really, all I have to do right now is contemplate an assassination. The unfortunate thing is that this list isn't really built around, you know, getting Warpath up and getting that resolved. Had I had more foresight, I probably would have put it up the turn before, knowing Damiano was kind of safe during his feat turn. But being as it is, this list, when forced to cast Warpath, is probably not in a good position. And this is exactly how it is. I give 2 focus to Rocinante and keep 3 for Warpath and a boosted boosted attack to kill an infantry model with Damiano. I'm positioning Sylys here to make sure that he's within range of arcane secrets, but also within range if I choose to move Damiano. I think I hang Damiano back here. You know, we're getting to the tail end of this game, and if he goes ahead and tries to assassinate Damiano, then, you know, good on him. If this assassination attempt works, that's great. If it doesn't, my opponent can get up to 4 next turn, with either a combination of dominating or controlling different zones. Which means I still have another turn, which means Damiano can try again. However, I don't think Vindictus is going to leave himself exposed the following turn. This is really the only turn I have. After he kills Rocinante, there's really no reason for him to use any focus whatsoever, especially with an entire army on the board. Maybe a sack pawn here or there, or sorry, a sacrificial lamb here or there, but nothing too expensive. So you see here, I do trigger Warpath, and get Rocinante here into the charge. I'm hoping that this works, because really all I have afterwards is Rhupert contesting that zone, and Cylena coming into that zone, and there's really not all that much pressure. We're going to go ahead and Poxy base this, so we do this accurately. We're going to check whether or not I even have LOS. And it looks like we do. And the proxy base is where it is. Rocinante comes in, and whiffs the stroll. So I am pretty much dead to rights now. So we'll see where this goes from here. I shift my the turn over to my opponent.
So it's never a good feeling when you're doing really well on attrition and you think you got everything kind of under control. Your opponent's like, well, I think I can put a Warjack onto your Warcaster. That's never, that should be like alarm bells right there. It's never a good feeling, never a good sign. So very fortunately it did not go south for me, but kind of easily could. That's definitely an argument for Defender's Ward with Vindictus. So he goes ahead, he loads up the Warjack, and that Reckoner without the Choir is going to just come on in. He's going to stay in the back arc, and he's going to beat on Rocinante. And he's just kind of smacking him relatively hard. He doesn't kill him. I don't know that he even comes particularly close. He looks like he's maybe 2/3 dead there. So now we got to go with Plan B, which is to see if the Black Reckoner in the middle can make it all the way to Rocinante. So speed 5, can go 4 inches through the woods, and then he's got that 2-inch reach, which I think the 2-inch reach is the one making the difference. So we're checking some line of sight with the Black Errants. So seeing the 3 inches there, and then basically drawing the 3 inches outside the woods, and then going through there. Charges, hits, very motivated attack, and the Errant actually kills Rocinante. Just go Errant. So the other ones are coming in, they're smacking on Rockbottom, and then taking their quick works wherever. So with that, we're back over to Carvolo and some Nyss. So we're getting the Errants, they're all kind of spreading out again. They're able to hit, kill, take a quick work, miss. And then on Carvolo, they smack him up pretty good. He does not tough. And then I believe the one who aimed was shooting at Wyshnalyrr, maybe? And I think he missed. So you got the Zealots, they're kind of scooting around a little bit now. Again, we're still having those command problems from poor deployment in like turn 1. But they go ahead, they drop a bomb on the Nyss, and then the bomb kills himself. But you know what, he died for Protector, he died for Menoth. We're good to go, and it turns out that math, the Nyss did not die. So no one's excited about that. We're going to get the Choir, they're going to go ahead, they're going to move on up. The Reclaimer puts a couple focus onto the Reckoner. Reckoner puts a boosted shot into that stupid Nyss, kills him. And that's a bigger deal to me because I didn't want a Weapon Master to be charging Vindictus, even with his defense, even with his armor. It's not good. So the Reckoner on the bottom just puts a random shot into Damiano and does a little bit of damage to him. And then I can score my points.
Alright, I'm still alive, which means I have another shot at this assassination. No, honestly, I don't have an assassination here. I'm going to be measuring out my control range and wishing that I did. Against all odds, I fully understand that I don't. I upkeep Warpath because there's no reason why I shouldn't. The Wild Bull Snapper there isn't going to do much. I'm going to contemplate for a second whether or not I should go for his objective and at least get one control point out on the board. But with that many infantry models, and again being the armory objective where he can sack pawn the last bits of damage, it is not looking too likely. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to charge Sylys in there so I just don't lose at the end of my turn. Sylys is going to charge into the other zone and force a sack. A self-sack. And then we're going to do the tried and true camp and run at your opponent's caster with Damiano, because he is a baller, and he can totally kill Vindictus next turn. No, definitely not. I fully expect to lose this next turn. But my opponent has been very wonderful to play against. It's been a great game. He's killed 20 infantry models in Damiano's list under a very high def skew. So, you know, I'm going to give him the pleasure of killing Damiano. He's earned it, certainly, and I don't deserve to lose in any other way other than to get fully tabled here. So we're going to run it over and ship it over to our opponent.
So coming into the tail end of this game, we basically have two things to do here. Got to kill Wyshnalyrr and see if we can kill Damiano. If he's not at full camp, he's pretty high up there on the camping. So we're going to go ahead, I believe we allocated a couple focus out, and then we're charging some Errants into Wyshnalyrr. We're just finish him off. And then we're going to go ahead and see what we can do to Damiano. So Vindictus, he's gonna scoot away. Just a little worried there. Got the Choir coming up. We did cast True Path, so now they're all speed 8, which is very fun. And we're going to go ahead and battle 2 of the Jacks. The first one boosts to hit, and we'll at least flare him. I don't think his damage roll is anything to really be excited about. The Errants are all just kind of scooting out of the way. We were checking for back arc. I don't think he got it. So he just puts a random shot into Damiano. Goes ahead, boosts the damage. Does a little bit more. And then we have the other Reckoner charging. Assault shot hits. Maybe damages. I don't think he real hurts. Boosts the charge attack. No, I'm sorry. He just randomly hit with the charge attack. It's a charge attack roll. Hits with the next one, and that's game. Thanks for watching.
So, some thoughts about the game here from the Mercenary side. I definitely should have deployed differently. Had I switched up kind of the positioning of my models to commit to my own zone, this would have been a very different game. Putting 2 heavies up there means that he had no way, really, of committing to my objective and my zone without sacrificing a lot more. Again, popping the feet on the turn where the Zealots were going to bomb all of my single wound infantry would have been really nice. There is also the debate of whether or not I should have dropped the other list, but I feel like with that much infantry on the other side of the board and sack pawn on Vindictus himself, I really had no shot at the objective and really no shooting game. Plus the forest on one side of the board makes it pretty hard for me to get LOS. So I think I dropped the right list. We should have just switched up the deployment a little bit and gone with a slightly different game plan instead of being so aggressive and sacrificing a lot of my single wound infantry. That being said, it was still a fantastically fun game. I had a great opponent, and I want to thank all of our viewers for watching this battle report. Hope to see you guys soon. Take care.